Recently bought these 6 Amazing Spider-Man Silver Age books with the intention of potentially getting a grade bump in them, because when I bought them they just kind of looked like maybe they were a little bit undergraded, or maybe there were some defects on them that maybe could be clean and pressed off of the books. So I'm going to go through each one of these books, use my grading process, and come up with what I think the grade should be, and then we'll just look at these things online, look at the values, see if it's even worth attempting to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and grade these books, and we'll decide whether we're going to crack these slabs or not. Okay, so I went through all of these Silver Age Amazing Spider-Man books, and I used the Spot On Grading app, and I used my own system that I'd come up with, points-based system. And if you want to learn more about that, I'll put a link to it in the description. It's free. So I just used both methods to try and get the most accurate grade possible to decide whether we want to crack these slabs and send them in for clean press and obviously regrading. So this first one here, we have a big one here, 18, Amazing Spider-Man. It's an 8.5, but it's an old slab. It was graded in 2001, I believe. And the app, Spot On Grading, had it as an 8.5. And my point system has it as a 9.0. Now I can't see this book, although there is some risk obviously involved. This could come back an 8.0 or something. We could lose a few hundred on this one. But I'm not really worried about that. I think this is a strong 8.5. I think this is a solid 9.0 actually, based on my own assessment. Now the Spot On Grading is kind of, it's hard to grade a book in a slab using that system because it actually counts defects. Whereas my system is more based on visual appeal on each area of the book. So I'm going to submit it. I'm going to crack the slab, submit it. We'll do a separate video on cracking the slabs. And I'm going to send it in for a clean and press. It's got some pressable defects on it. There's one here, there's a little crease, there's some creasing along here. There's a couple ticks here. There's a little bit on the back. And we're going to see what happens with this one. I think it's a good candidate. So it looks like we could go from an $1,800 book to about a $2,500 book by doing that process. And I'm not sure whether I'd keep it. I'm mainly doing this as like an experiment. It's an expensive experiment, but you know, I got a good price on it. I certainly could make money on it, but for now I'm just going to go ahead and expect not to make any money, or maybe even lose a little bit of money on these just for this test that I'm doing. So yeah, we got Amazing Spider-Man 31 next. This is a nice book. It's a 5.0, but it's a very nice looking 5.0. The only real thing I can see is there's a little color break here. There's still a crease in there that can be pressed. This wasn't showing on the original listing when I bought this thing. I was a little disappointed when it came in and had this. It was almost like it was blended off in the pictures in the listing. So, but rather than send it back, I just went ahead and kept it because I still think it's better than a 5.0. This thing looks like a 7.0. So there's just a few little color breaks here. But the thing this book has going against it is it has some staining. There's a little stain here. And I believe on the back of this book, there might be some potential issues as well. There's definitely looks like some staining up here. But I looked at my staining maximums. I have a maximum stain chart. That'll also be available in my grading tool. And I looked at all the staining I could find on this book, and I think we're maybe an eighth of the book if you accumulated it. But even if we erred on the side of caution, this still should, in my opinion, not be a 5.0 book. It's a 7.5 book without the staining, possibly, but at least a 7.0 book. So I think a 6.0 would be a good grade on this book. And that's exactly what the Spot On Grading app graded it, and that's what I graded it as well with my points. We were exactly the same, 6.0. So it'll go from a 650 book to 875 if we were able to get that bump. It's not a huge bump. I mean, the pressing, the grading costs, all that stuff. We're probably not making money by sending this in, but I certainly would prefer to have this. I'm keeping this book. I want it in a 6.0 if possible on my wall versus a 5.0. So, you know, we're going to submit it and see if we can get that grade bump. So the next one that I evaluated was Amazing Spider-Man number 37. Now this one is a 6.0, The Spot On Grading app has it as a 6.0. My points-based system has it as 6.0. So I don't think we need to send this one in. It's got a fairly new slab anyway. It's a nice looking book. It's a solid 6. It just looks like a 6. If you look at this corner up here, and let's see this corner up here, I don't think we're going to be able to get higher than a 6.0 with those corners. And this spine looks nice, but if you get close on it, it's pretty bad from here to here, but really nice down here. So this is one of the better 6.0s looking books you'll ever see, but I do think it's still a 6.0. It could maybe get a 6.5, but with a new slab like this, I'm happy with a 6.0. I'm just going to keep this book. I might end up selling this one. It's not like one of my favorite books or something. I may hold it for a year or so and just see what happens. And the next one is a pretty cool book. Amazing Spider-Man number 38. Last Ditko art on Amazing Spider-Man. And so this is an 8.5 currently. It's on an older slab. I don't know exactly when this was graded. It was probably prior to 2016. I've looked it up, I just can't remember off the top of my head, but it definitely is the older slab. Not the super old slab, but it's older than the current version. So, yeah, I graded it as, actually the Spot On Grading app has it as an 8.5, and exactly the same again, my points-based system has it as an 8.5. It does look like there might be an outside chance of a 9.0 on this one, but I think with that corner, I'm trying to remember what else I saw on this one. There might be some tiny tears on an edge. And the spine of this book, it looks nice here, but when you turn on the side, it has kind of a color break down the middle of it. And I think it could be cleaned a little bit. There's a little soiling here. But I think there's probably a 10 or 15% chance this book gets a 9.0, and the other times it gets an 8.5. And I actually think this thing could get an 8.0 maybe 15% of the time. It's a great looking book, but it's not, I don't think it's a 9.2 or 9.0. I think 8.5 is right on the money here. And I didn't even really look at the cost analysis. I don't think it's that much on this book. I think it's just a couple $100 either way. So I'm just actually going to keep this book in an 8.5 for now. I'm definitely keeping this book because it's the last Ditko art. I have a soft spot for this book. I just think it's a great book, and until I find a higher grade copy of it, I'm going to keep it on the wall. So we're definitely not submitting that one. So far we're only submitting 2 books. The next one is one of my favorites, Amazing Spider-Man number 39. So this is the first John Romita art, and you know, it's now Norman Osborn is revealed as the Green Goblin, etc., etc. This is a great book. So the Spot On Grading system has this as a 6.0, and I have this as a 6.5 based on my points-based system. So this could go from anywhere from a $650 book to either an $875 or a $1,300 book if we were able to get those grade bumps. I'm not 100% sure why this was graded a 5.0. The notes are kind of vague on it. There is a dust shadow here, but certainly I've seen 9.6 books with dust shadows like that on it, so I know that's not it. There is a little bit of tanning here that's a little bit moderate, but the back doesn't look like it's got light tanning or very minor tanning, but looks like maybe got some sun here and then along the bottom, and maybe here you can kind of see it as well, but that's definitely not staining. So I'm almost wondering if a grader just called that staining and capped at a 5.0. I think that's dust shadow or whatever you call it. So I think this definitely is worth resubmitting. I think 5.0 is like the basement for this book. So if it came back another 5.0, no big deal, but I'm going to submit it for a clean and press. I think this one could definitely looks like a 6 to a 6.5. This is a great looking book. I mean, it does have kind of that tanning from the sun or whatever on the side, but the bulk of the book right here looks very nice. And yeah, so I'm definitely going to submit that one. So that's my third one resubmitting. And so the last one might be my favorite cover for Silver Age Amazing Spider-Man. And that's Spider-Man, the origin of the Green Goblin. He's standing over the Green Goblin triumphantly. It's a 9.0, which I was really happy to get a 9.0 in this book. I got this for $500 under our market value at the time. So I just had to pick this one up. But I ran this one through the spot on grading and it came back an 8.5. That's based on limited what you can see. I came back as a 9.0 on my points-based system. So my points-based system agrees with the CGC graders. The spot on grading app is a little more harsh and thinks it's an 8.5. So I'm definitely not submitting this book. I would be devastated if this book came back an 8.0 or an 8.5. I'm going to be happy with a 9.0. I'm going to keep it a 9.0 and just enjoy this book. I probably won't ever get a higher grade than this one. So this one is one of those that'll be in my will. It's just a very nice book. I had this one as a kid. I bought it probably in about this condition and I had to sell it about 14 years ago. And I've always kind of been distraught over having to sell that book. But I'm glad I got it back in the collection. It's staying there. And we're going to keep this in a proud place on the wall for enjoyment's sake for years to come. So yeah, so I picked up a total of 6 slabs and I'm resubmitting 3. So I think that's batting pretty good. I think getting a grade bump on half the books that I find that I think are good candidates. Now, I'm not going to make a whole ton of money on these. I'll definitely make some virtual profit, I guess you could call it, because I'm not sure I'm selling any, maybe just a couple. So I'm not really worried about that. That's not why I did this. It's mainly just to test my ability to go through this process and find books, you know, that are good candidates for that. So yeah, I'll do a separate video on cracking these slabs. And then of course we'll do a reveal when the books come back. And I also have some other Silver Age books that I'm submitting. I'm going to submit kind of a mid-grade submission. I'll do like a mid to lower grade submission as well. So I'll do like 2, 8, 9 book submissions separate. And so we'll have 2 separate videos for those. And of course we'll have 1 video for the 3 books that I cracked that I'm going to be receiving back. And we'll see how we did on that front. So yeah, thanks for watching and happy collecting.